I'm going to ask Charles to talk about the whole, as you can see, there are schemas on right for security, what that means in detail. As I said, Elastic, a very successful company, now leveraging their capabilities in the area of security. Charles, all yours.
Thanks for that, Ron. Yeah, so today what I wanted to talk about, this topic is probably going to be a little bit more technical, but hopefully you'll see the value of what you can do with Elastic for schema on write versus schema on read. Just a little bit about myself. My name's Charles Davison. I'm one of our senior solutions architects here at Elastic, and I want to approach the talk a little bit differently today. So part of it is a journey, actually, how I came to Elastic, and then we'll evolve that into schema on read, schema on write throughout the talk today. You will see a couple of these shades appear on the slides, and that's just, we're actually going to give out, whoever can count the amount of glasses on the slide deck, the first person to let Ron know after I'm done presenting. Marketing has committed to sending out some free Elastic swag. So just keep count. There's a freebie right there, and give me the total count when we're over, and we'll send you some Elastic swag after the talk's over.
Yeah, everyone just enter it. I'll monitor the questions. You can send it to me.
Perfect. So, I think when we think of Elastic, a lot of people might not be familiar with who Elastic is or what we do, but chances are you've used Elastic already behind the scenes for a search experience. You don't even realize it. So Uber is, powered by Elastic behind the stack, right? Helping match, riders to drivers. We're also powering the search behind Yelp. So you can find your favorite, fast food restaurant or your just favorite local place to eat. We also power a lot of other things, right? Search is our big objective, in cybersecurity as a whole. So, Elastic can be used in a lot of those search use cases to match riders to drivers, but from a security perspective, it's nice to be able to find adversaries, threats, and things of that nature really quickly. And that's one of the things that we want to talk about today. So just a little bit of an overview. What I'd first like to do is just talk about my personal journey to Elastic. We'll go into some use cases. We'll go into an architecture overview just to understand how the stack is structured. And then after we really understand the stack as a whole, you'll be better able to understand the schema on write, schema on read, and advantages thereof. And I'm going to try to squeeze in a live demo today if we have enough time at the end of the talk. So my journey to Elastic really as a security practitioner probably started about 1.5 to 2 years ago. I was doing some consulting for a firm up in New York, and it just happened to be that on the flight back home, right, we wish that we were flying one of these, right, but on my way back home, I had some interesting folks that were sitting next to me on the flight. A couple of these folks, right, people from Department of Energy. And we just started talking tech. I asked them, what they do and where they're from, what exactly do they do for their organization. And it just happened to be that one of the people on my left was really into the whole nuclear physics particle accelerator area. And the other was an executive on the right who really wowed me in terms of how they were revolutionizing their technology stack within some of those DOE organizations. And he had mentioned Elastic. And so at that time, being a consultant, I wanted to look into this for my clients. And so I started looking into it in terms of how we could potentially migrate users off of legacy, SIM platforms and really try to get the value out of it. So I ended up bringing this back to the, office, and we started implementing some use cases, and we were really impressed with the speed, scale, and relevancy of Elastic, right? That's kind of the premise of search, right? You want to make sure that the results that you're searching for happen quickly, that they're relevant, and you can scale to terabytes, if not petabytes of data. So we brought it back, and great, there was much rejoicing, right? Shortly after, that experience, I ended up coming on board at Elastic and have been here ever since. So, my background specifically focuses in security. I've spent the last several years in big data cybersecurity solutions, and Elastic was a great fit. So that company that I happened to be sitting next to on the plane was actually Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And today they're protecting 20,000 plus endpoints right through the Elastic stack. And that's really security that scales. I have some links in the slides in terms of some of the articles and stuff that you can reference. So if endpoint is something that you're trying to do in your organization, we definitely support that within our technology stack. I understand completely, though, that everybody on the call today is probably in a unique industry, right? You're coming from maybe retail, or you're coming from education. So one of the other things that we put on here, and you can access this just by going to our main page, we have industry-specific use cases that you can check out for your industry to see how others have transitioned to Elastic and have improved their organization, whether it's from a security perspective or maybe even observability. Before we get into the schema on read, schema on write, I want to just give you a high-level overview of the stack as a whole. So within Elastic, we're really unique in that when you purchase an Elastic solution, you are not siloed into just using the SIEM security features within Elastic, which is what we'll be focusing on today. But you could also use it for enterprise search, right? So enterprise search consists of workplace search that is a single document repository, if you want to call it that, for you to search, Dropbox, SharePoint, all those different things within your organization from one location, which is great. We also have app search. So if you have a application or a custom website and you want to track analytics for users that are on those sites, you can do that with enterprise search. From an observability perspective, we support logs, metrics, application performance monitoring, uptime, all kinds of really unique stuff there. And what we'll be focusing on today is really how schema on write benefits us from a security perspective. So again, my background is really in the SIEM arena. Elastic, though, has, as some of you might be aware, we recently acquired Endgame, and that technology is actually being rewritten to be introduced into our stack. And we'll show a couple of those things in the slides today. In terms of overall architecture, just to keep it simple, your ingest layer there at the bottom is, beats and Logstash, right? That's essentially how you're going to get data into the system. You might be using an API. A lot of people, with Elastic that come from a developer background leverage our APIs, which is great. Elasticsearch is the main data repository, and then Kibana is the UI that sits on top of the stack to help you manage and ingest your data. A couple other things in here, we have Canvas, which is a really cool business visualization tool for metrics. We have machine learning, maps, reporting, dashboards, all kinds of cool stuff that you would expect a data platform to have. I think from a security perspective, ML to me in the Elastic Stack was really neat because it wasn't a standalone product that's integrated throughout our entire stack, and we'll try to show some of that stuff today. So the main question on everybody's mind is, what is schema on read versus schema on write? Really, this slide captures that. We have data right at the top. Maybe it's coming in through FileBeat, PacketBeat, or our Elastic agent. And it's going to send the data, right? You're going to send the data into Elastic, and it's going to come one of two ways. You can either do schema on read, which we actually support. I believe 7.12 was when schema on read came out for Elastic. But the preferred way from a security perspective really should be schema on write. And that's essentially just defining the metadata fields before, essentially on write time, really. So to give you an example, schema on write might be an example of, username is Bob, IP address is 192.168, whatever. You're just defining those relationships for your metadata field. And really, at the end of the day, both of them are going to be able to give you those, awesome visualizations that you want to see within Kibana. Elastic integrations, right? We make it super easy to install and onboard your data. And what's great about the integrations is that they're already predefined using the Elastic Common Schema. So we're giving you all those benefits of the schema on write. And we support a lot of different ways that you can install that. Right now, we're in the process currently. Elastic Agent is still in beta, but it's taking all those beats that you might be familiar with, right? FileBeat, AuditBeat, WinLogBeat, to collect those different types of data throughout your network and put it into a single unified installer. And this is just a screenshot from my cloud console, actually, that I just put in the deck. And so you essentially just come in here and you say, hey, I'm going to download this agent, put on Windows, Mac, or Linux, and then you have all these different integrations. So maybe you're a Cisco shop, maybe you have Palo Alto. One of the things on here that's free that you could leverage within your organization is Elastic Endpoint Security. Again, it's still in beta, but it provides a lot of cool features, especially from a security perspective, that you could use in your environment. I think a lot of the talk today has been around ransomware and protecting your data. And one way we're able to do that is with endpoint security. So again, this is a free integration or module, if you want to call it that, within our integrations. And you're able to do Windows protection in terms of malware. We also have malware protection for Mac. Eventually, they're going to roll that out to Linux. We do all the other common things like process monitoring, network monitoring, file monitoring that you might want to create in your organization. One thing that's really cool with Elastic Endpoint Security, again, this is totally free. You can roll this out. You can essentially deploy ransomware protection on your Windows endpoints too. So a couple things, food for thought for people to test out and try. One of the ways that I've seen this used and have heard about it used as well is that our cloud environment is so easy to provision and deploy. It really just takes a couple of clicks to get up and running. So you might have a scenario where you're working with a consulting firm or some type of incident response firm, and they need to collect your data really quick. Well, with Elastic Cloud environment, you're able to do that really quick, right? Within a matter of 8 to 10 minutes, you can pick your cloud provider. And we're cloud agnostic, by the way. I think that's pretty critical. We have the ability, we have great speakers today from all three of the cloud providers. If you want to do GCP, Azure, or AWS, you can choose where you want to deploy that. And then those integrations help deploy in seconds. And I think that's really key, right? In terms of what we do in security, we want to be able to detect those threats quickly, and half the battle is really just onboarding data and making sure that it's coming in appropriately. What that translates into for an analyst is a really easy UI to just drag and drop fields within here. And I think on this slide, it doesn't really do it justice. So I think if we have time at the end, I'm going to try to just show you some basic drag and drop functionality within the console here. But that's super powerful, right? You don't need to go out and learn another query language. Granted, we have the ability to do that. So we have what's called EQL, which is a SQL-like syntax to help you do correlations within your environment and those advanced threat hunting things that you might want to do. But just out of the gate, to have an analyst that's maybe new to security, really fresh, really green, maybe just out of college, and just drag and drop stuff where they don't have to learn a query language is pretty powerful. And that's one of the ways that Schema on write, having all those metadata fields defined beforehand, can help us out. This is a specific example. So if we're looking at a Schema on write, this is Schema on read, right? Essentially, we're looking at OS credential dumping in a query here to try to find something. If we look at that in Elastic, our query here is pretty short, right? This is using the EQL, but a lot of the other metadata fields and stuff, again, are defined already. So it makes the syntax, if you are going to do some of those more advanced threat hunting type things, a lot easier to do within the Elastic environment. So I'm going to attempt to do a live demo right now. So what could go wrong? We'll see here in just a second. So one of the things I want to show you just really quick, for those of you who have never used Elastic and maybe you want to just try this out, you can sign up on our website and just create a free trial account if you want to. I think it's like a free 14-day trial or something like that. But you're literally just going to come in here and create a deployment. And just from the screen, you can choose whatever provider. Do you want to do Google, Azure, AWS, etc. And I could hit create deployment right now. And in 10 minutes, I'm going to have an entire environment to play around with, which is really cool. You can do some more advanced stuff in here in terms of scaling up. Do you want to, increase the amount of zones that you're in? We have the ability to tier data to help you store essentially that data cheaper. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do just within the cloud UI. I had mentioned earlier that machine learning is baked in throughout the stack. One example here, and this will make more sense in just a minute, but we're looking at a host here where we had looked at some detections, right? And this is a live demo. So anyways, you probably saw there really quick that the there was some ML type of stuff going on there for the machine learning aspect. And that's really, I think, what's going to help you in your organization detect these threats quickly. So again, I'm in Kibana here for the security portion. And if I come into my detections, I can essentially find threats and stuff that are contextualized. This environment is not cooperating with me as you would expect in a live demo, but luckily I have a backup here. So just from the overview, a lot of the stuff that we do is going to be basic out of the box stuff in terms of giving you the ability to visualize, millions of different events, and we categorize that and break it out by category. We can see our detections here within the UI in terms of what's fired for our alerts. But what I really want to showcase is the ability to do the searching, right? How do we do searching in this UI? So one way that you could do that is you could come into one of these alerts that's fired. Maybe I want to do this Windows 10 host, right? I could literally just drag and drop this down to my timeline here. This is where you conduct your investigation. So I can click it down there, and then I'll go into my untitled timeline, and it's going to show me all the data that's relevant for this, which is really great. I think what's even better than that is probably looking at this maybe from a like a user perspective. So you could come into the host tab and look at the different authentications to see people that are authenticating over time. So in this particular environment, we have a student user who's, maybe doing something nefarious. I can drag that person down to the timeline, and I can combine that in here with other interesting things. So if I want to see all the top processes that this user is running, I can highlight on one of the processes in my logs down here and click this process name graph, and it's going to show me everything that's weird. So if I wanted to, see what is this user and Rubius done together, I can drag this over here and make it an and statement to say I want to look at the user plus Rubius, and boom, now you're looking at all the logs that have that user in the process specifically. One of the integrations that we've pulled over from our endgame solution is the ability in here to analyze the event. So if you are familiar with endgame, right, we have the ability to do that process triage to find interesting things. So, from a demo perspective, I really just wanted to show how easy it is to drag and drop, right, a user plus a executable or an IP address, and I think the schema on read both could play at hand. Essentially, with the new features that we had released for schema on read, that's really more used for people that just want to throw data into the platform and maybe not have it parsed out. But from a security perspective, you can see the advantages thereof, and there's really no learning curve. One thing else that we do that's really great is a lot of our training on Elastic is free. So from a executive perspective, that's less training dollars, right, that you're going to have to spend in your organization to get people ramped up. Granted, we do have certified Elastic engineer courses that you could take if you wanted that for your team. But from a user perspective, right, for those security administrators that are on your networks trying to defend it, this is going to bring them up to speed quickly on the different security solution capabilities that we have out there. And there's ML classes, all kinds of cool stuff. So that's really it from what we wanted to talk about today. Just to recap, what are the advantages of Schema on Write? Fast integrations, right? Being able to click through the UI and add those to Elastic Agent. Fast searches, right? Quick mean time to detect, mean time to respond, and easy to learn, right? Anybody can drag and drop. So that concludes my talk today, and thanks, Ron.